Hey guys, so really quickly, I want to talk about something. You know how I've seen some ladies concerned, and this is just throughout the years of the bashing that's been going on online towards black women, and there has been some black women concerned that um, all of this bashing online from the black men might turn other groups of men away from black women because they were concerned that a lot of these non-black men will believe what these black men say. But I'm going to tell you the truth, what really hurts black women. What hurt black women, okay, black women's was already stereotyped. Okay, black women's image was already being publicly degraded through a lot of the rap music, hip hop music, and movies, and just the other types of media. But and even with YouTube, okay. But I'm gonna tell you what has really hurt the way people see black American women more than the ratchet stuff is Black Lives Matter. Because I'm gonna tell you something. Even with the ratchet culture, you had people who still realized that there was a difference. You still saw non-black people. I've seen so many white guys get on YouTube, and they would check Tommy Sotomayor. It would be more of them to check Tommy Sotomayor than it would be other black men. I remember seeing those guys. It was a guy from the Hispanic culture, European looking, and I've seen a few white guys, that they would check him. This was a few years ago, and they would say, "Well, yeah, it's ratchet, it's ratchet, ghetto women like that, but not all of them are like that." So let me tell you something. Even though you had those ratchet women that be loud in public and acting crazy, you still had non-black people who knew there was a difference, and the one who act like they didn't know the difference is because they were ignorant anyway. I'm gonna tell you, Black Lives Matter to me almost put the nail in the coffin to black women's a brown woman's image. Black Lives Matter did it because you know what happened. Because now it's not just the ratchet women being exposed. Now you had these educated women. I told you about that. I started my channel last year talking about these educated women. My focus was mostly on them. Okay, because they actually, believe it or not, they have a very huge influence. They are the ones that a lot of these little girls look up to, like the Michelle Obamas. I understand that these young, little black boys look up to the basketball players and football players, but for the most part, a lot of these little black girls, they will look up to the Kerry Washingtons and the Michelle Obamas and the Oprahs. And Beyonce, of course, but that's a different lane. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of little black girls will look up to that. Okay, unless they're just in an environment where a lot of hood rat behavior is, and that's different because they're exposed to it every day. Okay, so what I'm saying is that yeah, ratchet culture, the music, and a lot of the media has definitely played a role in tearing down the image of a lot of black women, but Black Lives Matter really did it. Okay, so let me get to the point. I was having a conversation, and I've had several conversations with a few white guys. Hold on. Sorry. And so it's one I had today, right? And for the most part, a lot of them don't really care for black males. So I'm gonna be honest with you, a lot of them don't really care for them. But they don't really say anything because they feel like because they don't say anything right away because they feel like because I'm a brown woman that they don't want to come out and say what they have to say. But it's nothing that this guy could have said online to change the way that they feel. Like it's nothing that black men could have said online to change the way white men felt about black women. Uh, you know, if black women weren't showing that they were that they were not really, what's the words I'm looking for? they were also culprits in what black men were doing too, right? And so, you know what I've heard from a lot of these white guys is that they would mostly be talking about, gangbangers and guys and, the shootings. And it's like, yeah, you have police who are, crazy with the trigger, but at the same time, don't be doing something crazy and they're not expect nothing to happen. So for the most part, no matter what these guys said online against black women, and I'm talking about black men against black women, a lot of these white men were not swayed by the things they were saying online. And the white people who like listen to Tommy Sotomayor and folks like that, they were racist anyway. A lot of them were, parts of the KKK. Um, but from the conversations I've had, the interesting conversation I've had is, they would wonder why they are aware of the public bashing on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. And I'm talking about, I talk to men over 65, white men over 65. I've talked to white men in their 20s. I've talked to white men in their 30s. And I even talked to a Jewish woman in her 80s. And all of these groups of people, and of course I've talked to Hispanic people, men and women, all of these group of people are aware of the public bashing on YouTube alone. I mean, they know about the music, but the public bashing on YouTube, because now you have these guys very specific at their target, and their target was black women, or brown women. So now these guys are more specific, even though they were degrading their women in music and in other media. Now they were making it clear, on YouTube. And so you had all groups of people. I even talked to an Ethiopian. You had all of these groups of people who were well aware that these guys was tearing down their own women on YouTube. And so what has hurt black women is not what the black men actually said about them. What has hurt black women is that their refusal to set any kind of standards for this male who has continued to tear them down time and time again, who continues to degrade them time and time again. Literally, this is what I hear from white guys. If anything would turn a lot of these guys away from brown women, this would be it. They paid attention to the Black Lives Matter. When every time a guy was shot, a black male was shot, you saw the women at the front lines. But then as soon as the black woman, something happened to her, or the brown women, you wouldn't hear a peep from them. They are well aware. They pay attention. See, these guys, I mean, you got to realize a lot of these guys are pretty smart. Okay, they're not dumb. So they paid attention to the fact that, these guys are abandoning their children. They don't provide for their families. They are very abusive to their women. And so many of them are aware of the public bashing on YouTube. And they sit and wonder, why in the world are black women still supporting these guys? This one guy, he's more on the elderly side, talking about he met two of the strongest black women he ever seen, and not because they can take on the world. It's because when he was younger, he had a coworker who was a black woman who stood up against this white guy who was trying to take her idea. And I told him, I said, what, I'm gonna be honest with you, black women will take down white supremacy before they check the black male. And he said, I know. This older white male said, I know. Yeah, they will. They will go up against the system before they say anything to their own group of men. They will let their own group of men, this is from him, they will let their own group of men tear them down. But they paid attention when that young lady, during the Philandro Castile and Alton Sterling shooting, when that woman stood up against all those cops, and she had on this long flowing dress, and she stood up against all these cops, but then won't say anything to the black male who might touch her daughter, won't say anything to him. And these white men are aware of that. That's what turns, if anything, that's what would turn them off. And you do kind of have to explain to them that that's not the way you think, because that has hurt the image of brown women. That behavior right there has hurt the image of brown women. Not so much what these guys have gone online saying, is the fact that these women continue to support these guys no matter how many times they stomp on them. But anyway, you guys let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you soon.